Hello, beautiful, and welcome to the Finding Fertility podcast. I'm Monica, your mentor in uncovering the hidden layers of your fertility journey. Together, we'll discover the right path for you within the 6 essential steps to creating the family of your dreams. We'll ditch the overwhelm, tune into your intuition, and build a vibrant foundation for your fertility. Whether it's through gut health, subconscious healing, or energetic alignment, you can unlock your body's natural power to get and stay pregnant. Your fertility journey is all about radical responsibility and deeply believing that your body is on your side. It's time to stay consistent, embrace trust, surrender, and create the transformation you deserve. Finding Fertility does not diagnose, prescribe, or treat any fertility issues. What we do is empower you to take control of your health by uncovering the root causes holding you back. Let's do this together. Happy Friday. Welcome back to another episode of Finding Fertility. I'm your host, Monica Cox, and I am so honored you are here, becoming the conscious mama you were born to be. Today, we have our second half of Rebecca's interview. I hope you're enjoying it. So without further ado, let's get to today's episode.
That is actually part of the equation too, because I think part of us doing the inner work, doing all this programming, we can kind of feel like it derails at times. A lot of clients can feel like unmotivated, whatever. It's like, well, like where are you in your cycle, right? Like that drop in estrogen, progesterone in your late luteal phase, like, yeah, if you're not feeling up for like trying something new or shifting new, thought patterns,
Yeah.
yeah, like give yourself grace. Like that's the inner work is probably gonna be a little more challenging then. So at that point, it's like, what boundaries do you need to set for yourself to just like be with yourself and not take on anything else? And I think that's like a beautiful starting point.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's really good. And it's just that radical honesty. And the thing is most people won't do that because it's not fast enough. It's not like
Yeah.
almost tangible enough. Like, well, I feel like I'm doing something where I
Yeah.
feel like my life radically shift. And this is only, I mean, I've been doing this stuff for over a decade, but this is only really in the last year and a half that I've gotten radically honest. Why I'm washing the dishes? Why am I feeling like this? Like, why do I feel like it's always me? I'm Cinderella. I have to do this, And it's just like, oh, okay. Let me unpack
Mhm.
that when I have the space and time. Let me choose a modality that is in alignment with, what I'm feeling. Do I want to scream it out? Do I just, let it go, get in a whole brain state, things like that. And all of the money and time that I spent on the doing modalities, I'm like, oh, but it's a journey to get there. It's you
Yeah.
have to go through some of those things to eventually I think you look back and go, okay, it's working. Don't get me wrong. It's working, but if you're still feeling stuck, if you're still feeling there's something more, it's because you're not going inward enough
Yeah.
and you're not doing the mundane, doing the boring. And
Hmm.
I think that's just so imprinted on your nervous system. And that's why you have to go back and unpack what
Hmm.
was in the past that, was imprinted there that you picked up either through an experience or through just being around other people's energy. There's many different ways for these to happen. And I think a lot of people don't realize too of, you know, it doesn't have to be a big, quote unquote trauma for it to
Yeah.
have a big impact in your life and how you run your life. Um,
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
And I feel like when we can, yeah, and I feel like it's like so oversaid, and yet it needs to be said, is like slow down. Like, can we all just slow down and just like be with ourselves? Like, I know for some of us, like sitting and meditating is like the hardest thing ever.
Hmm.
So maybe it's like you go for a walk and then like after you've moved your body a little bit, you just like pause and be like, what am I feeling in my body? Like recognize it in your body as this sensation. Start to name it, get curious with it. But it comes from this point of like slowing down enough to just like feel in your body like what is coming up. And I think we've just, a lot of us have given away our intuition, like our trusting our own intuition, like trusting what comes up, because we all like we all know, maybe we don't know, but the reminders here, the answer is within. The answer is always within.
Well, see,
It's
I
like,
don't think people do know that.
yeah,
I
maybe
don't.
not.
I don't think it's common knowledge. I think people really truly think, and I was stuck in this for a long time and still am. Sometimes when I'm like having an issue, I'm like, all right, what practitioner can I pay
Yeah.
a few $100s to sort this issue out? And then I'm like, okay, do you really need to pay someone? Because sometimes it is nice working
Yeah.
with a coach. I do think there is absolute value in that. I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't do that. But then I have to check myself and go, okay, you have more tools than you are giving yourself credit for. But do you want to sit for an hour and do
Yeah.
it for yourself? And sometimes
And
the answer is no.
yeah, and that's where, yes, exactly. And that's, I think, where a practitioner or any of these modalities can hold up the mirror
Hmm.
for you and to hold you accountable to actually show up to do the work. I mean, that's
Yeah.
like, I mean, there's something to be said. If you're putting money out there to like do the thing, like you're going to do the thing, but you're putting, there is that energetic exchange of them holding space for you. And
Yeah.
ultimately, at least what I have found is that something will be brought up in that interaction that you like that will resonate with you and that you actually already knew, but you just
Yeah.
needed it to be like sifted through the like fine sifter to like
Yeah.
find that and be like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah. Like, and it's part of that radical honesty of being like, oh yeah, like, oh, I knew that, oh yeah, like that resonates. I haven't been doing that, or yeah, I see this pattern. Yep, that's the pattern that I've been avoiding, or whatever it is. And yes, working a practitioner, but ultimately they're there to to be the mirror for you
Hmm.
because it's going to be what you feel within yourself resonate with what's brought up that like all along has been there. And part of that is slowing down. Part of that is slowing down enough to go to see a practitioner, right? Rather than being like, just piling it away and putting others' needs first and like I said, being like the chauffeur of everyone else's life, being like, oh, what do
Hmm.
you need? What do you need? And slowing down enough to be like, what do I need? Like
Yeah.
this is your one shot. Like in this incarnation of this, of what you're going to do in this lifetime, this is your one shot. It's worth doing the home improvement. If you're going to live in this beautiful home, you're going to call this body your home for this whole lifetime. It's worth doing the inner home improvement to make it last.
Yeah. I had just had a funny thought, like my head goes random places. It's like, well, is this really your only shot? Like, how many times have we come back? How many times are we gonna come
Yeah.
back? And it's just like I keep thinking this incarnation with maybe the knowledge that I'm gaining, and maybe I've had this knowledge before and just choose like to come back and play this silly game again and again. Um, but yeah, it is that mastery of just being with yourself. And I think that is that is God, right? That is
Yeah.
universe. Like God's not up there playing ping pong and like drinking beer. Like he's just chilling or she's just chilling or it's just chilling, like whatever it is, they're not doing anything, you know?
It's
And
within you.
and
Yeah.
I always think like if Eckhart Tolle can sit on a park bench for 2 years and do nothing, like society would have been like, that guy is not amounting to anything in his life. And what did he do? Like he's doing
Hmm.
amazing things now and he's gained this knowledge and he did nothing but sit.
Hmm.
You know, can you
Yeah.
afford that in your life? Can you afford that space and honor yourself? And like you say, um it's taking care of this meat suit because it will eventually give out in some way. But the reality is the way it was designed to keep you alive with functions that you don't even have to think about supporting in a sense, like your detox, that will happen naturally without you having to do any extra work, but feed yourself properly and stay away from some toxins and live a stress-free, well, at least minimum stress, right? That's it. You don't have to like
Yeah.
do the work. Your hormones, you don't have to do the work. Your gut health, you don't have to do the work.
Yeah.
It's all on autopilot, but you just have to show up for yourself. And
Yeah.
that's the thing of when you're interested, when your life has gotten so hard and so heavy for you to make that shift, are you willing to put in that consistent work?
Yeah.
Because one of the things that, like, the fallacy out there, and I got sucked into this too, was like, well, if I just do X, Y, and Z and I get to this state, I don't have to do anything. Life's going to be easy on cruise control. And you forget that, or you don't realize that the mental, emotional side is just like the eating side. No, you have to show up for yourself every single day. And
Yeah.
that doesn't mean perfection. But if you eat McDonald's 3 times a day, you know you're not going to feel great the next day. So if you're thinking all these negative thoughts, if you're running these old patterns, it's just gonna get worse and worse for you.
And I think it's important to remember that everything affects everything. So like our energetic quality affects our physical quality, our
Yeah.
emotional state affects our, our mental state. And when we work in one area to improve, to like live, to kind of realign, I do feel like we all have this inherent well-being encoded within us.
Yeah.
And the more that we can it's just like we got bumped out of alignment. And then all of a sudden we're going down this path. And instead of being on like the pavement, we're like bushwhacking through the woods, right? Like, and then it's like we find our way back to the path. We're like, oh, yeah, that's so much easier. Our body runs easier, our mental clarity is better. And it's so if you're improving sleep, it's going to then improve your, energetic quality. It's going to improve your vibrancy of who you are as like the essence of you because you're aligned to that. So tending to things like eating better is going to actually also help like all the things downstream, upstream as well.
Hmm.
And, if you're going through the path of like, I'm just tending to like your mental quality, your mental state, and working with the inner narrator, working with all the parts of you, working it with, the parts that are dismissive, working like knowing that you are the totality of the whole. You're not just one of those parts. And if we can tend to that, then all of a sudden you're going to probably lean towards eating better. But I'm not making it like trite. Like I don't want it to sound like, oh, all you have to do is just think great thoughts and you're gonna
Yeah.
like, all of a sudden fix your hormones. Like it is work, and yet it's like it's the small things. It really is the lifestyle that you live. So it's like, what avenue are you what's your entry point into living just more mindfully? And and that's gonna have this cascading effect. And it also means you get to show up for yourself. Can't be the last person on your list. Like you
Yeah.
need to prioritize yourself. And then it's not selfish. This is not like self-indulgent, like the mom guilt that you have if we're like, caring for ourselves or taking time out. It's like, no, like we have to really reframe that. And, part of that is just the whole society as a whole that needs to just be more supportive of this narrative. And I think it is getting better. And hopefully, you know, generationally, we aren't passing down the same, like you said, your mom not being able to like sit down and read a book because I've got to do something, I've got to be busy. Hopefully we can start to end some of these generational, things that are being passed down to us, which means showing up for yourself, which means setting boundaries, which means prioritizing your well-being above and beyond everything else because it's cheesy, it's oversaid, but it's like you cannot fill up someone else's cup when you are empty. Like you cannot be of service to anyone else when you are feeling like crap. Like
Yeah.
you just can't. And
Yeah.
so it's that priority.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll fail somewhere. You'll fail, like your body will fail at some time. So if you're judging yourself and you're looking at like your friends or a family member who you think has it all and everything's like perfect in their life, I will guarantee you if they are running patterns of just go, 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 never really taking time for themselves, not eating properly, they will hit a wall, whether
Yeah.
that's in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever it is. Mine was in my teens. Like I actually, with hindsight, was they would have deemed me infertile at like 16, 17. I had like major gut health issues, all that stuff. And that's what we're seeing with the generational health crisis that we're in right now. And you can pull it back to epigenetics. This is all science. If I I have a lot of conversations with women because they're like, well, if health was the answer, why can the crackhead get pregnant? And I said, that's not her, one, it's not her journey. It's not her soul's journey. That it's a completely different journey, but look at what you're comparing yourself to. This woman needs help. She's screaming out for help and she couldn't find it. So she's turned to a substance. Then her child grows in that substance and grows in that environment. What kind of life span or mental emotional health is that child? Like, we got to do better. Like, don't judge yourself towards the people who you think are getting what you want easily. And with my fertility journey, most people around me, like 99.9%, weren't going through a fertility journey. I was really the outlier. And I'm in my 40s too. So this was, a decade ago. I think it's more every time I speak to someone, they know several people going through fertility issues now in their 30s and late 20s. We're just, like you said, passing down these genetics and these patterns to our children. And eventually you are going to get to a stage. I mean, look at the men's sperm health epidemic we're having that no one really wants to talk about. It's like that utopia, or like whatever, is it Handsmaiden or whatever? Like that could be a reality if not enough of us wake up to the fact that pregnancy isn't a sign of health, that your period is literally your fifth vital sign.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, why it got deemed to be negative, if you can switch it, even if you're going on a fertility journey or if you're done with having kids and you're like, this is a nuisance, I don't need this. It's like, well, it's there to show you. And like, that's like the birth control is like such a hot topic because it's like, okay, the birth control does its own things that I don't necessarily think damage fertility on solely, but what it does is it masks the symptoms. So you
Yeah.
don't have your fifth vital sign, you don't have your circadian rhythm that you would naturally have to be in your empowerment. And like the science is out there, it like changes your sense of smell and all these crazy things that you need for survival and finding a good mate. There's that
Hmm.
I don't know what kind of study it is or where I heard it, but it's like women who are on the birth control meet someone who they think they love, get off the birth control. They're like, oh, I don't know if I love you as much as I did on birth control, because
Hmm.
it just changes your whole chemistry.
Hmm.
So I think no matter where you are, even if don't want kids and you're, maybe perimenopause or whatever, it's still essential to tap into that.
Yeah.
And it would be, I mean, I don't talk a lot about menopause because it's not my field and I haven't hit it yet. So it's not in my realm yet. But I'd be interested in the conversations about the hormone cycle then and the life experience and why most women in their 50s, 60s just don't give fucks. They're like, yep, done with all that bullshit, and I
Yeah.
feel like they're so in their empowerment. But anyways, that will be a different
I
conversation
was
for a
like,
different
well,
day.
that
But
could be
go
like a
ahead.
whole nother
Yeah.
episode. I was like, we could talk about like the crone, right? It's like estrogen has this effect of like pulling us to like care for others, right? It's like it's like the mothering hormone. It's like we want to like care for others. It pulls us out. So when estrogen declines, it's like the like I have like all these cycles have led, have helped build you to the woman who you are, right? When
Yeah.
you step into like, and I say I'm not there yet either, but it's like, but in a way, I'm like embracing it like that rather than fearing menopause because I think there's a lot of fear around it. Similar,
Yeah.
like there's, the whole, women's whole cycle through all the phases. There's a lot of stuff to unpack. And part of, the menopausal journey, I think, is stepping into your like queendom, right?
Hmm.
It's like, I don't have like, and a lot of times in that time of your life, you're like, your kids are older, you're like, I don't care. This is for
Yeah.
me now. Like this is for me. And I don't have the fucks to give. I don't like this is
Yeah.
my time. And however far it is, down the timeline for our listeners, it's like knowing that like, okay, all of these phases, like our cycles are not meant for us to feel less than.
Hmm.
In a way, like they are this opportunity, this invitation to step into your wholeness, to step into like coming back home to yourself, to step into all the magical like strengths that are within you. And it's a beautiful thing to look at it that way versus and that simple mind shift, right? Of being like, oh, I hate my period. Oh, the shame around it versus stepping into it and being like, oh yeah, I do have these great strengths each phase. And then, once you hit menopause, you're like, oh yeah, like now I'm it. Like the ebbs and flows are not going to be ebbing and flowing. And now I can just be
Yeah. Yeah,
powerful.
exactly. And the truth is every cycle in your teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, it's all cellular health. It all comes down how your cells are reacting, and you have 100%, well, okay, you have 98% control of it because I do think there's toxins and stuff out there that we
Right. Oh
just
yeah,
can't control anymore.
exactly.
So,
Can't even go there.
okay, you don't have 100% control, but you have more control than you think. And these things do not have to rule your life. And when you notice that and you see those shifts in your moods, in your hair, in your skin, in your cycle, you'll feel that empowerment. And once you feel that physical empowerment, maybe that really energetic part of our lives that's not tangible, and much harder for women who are type A and always on the go to surrender, slow down, and get into. You'll start being able to do those things because you won't have a headache. You won't have bloating. You won't
Yeah.
have diarrhea. You won't have
Yeah.
all these physical symptoms. And even dealing with the anxiety and the stress of life that's, spoiler alert, never gonna leave. It just, you flow through them so much easier. Like with my dad passing right now, everyone's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, like I'm pretty good." Like, is it gonna be sad? Is there gonna be grief? Is there gonna be times of like, anger? Yeah, but all in all, because I've been able to step so far into myself that, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that too.
Oh, thanks.
And yeah, but yeah, like you've created these supports like within yourself and you can be with yourself, right? That's a big part of grief is being able to just be in it
Hmm.
and getting like kind of comfortable with the uncomfortable, which for a lot of us, grief aside, just being with yourself and just being able to be there. There's an edge to that for a lot of us. And as we unpack, as we do the inner work, like it gets more comfortable.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I thought about it the other day. I was like, I wonder if you like charge $5,000 for a course, and then all the course was is you have to show up and sit in silence for an hour for like 6 months.
Yeah.
Like how much value would that, like how fast would you progress in your
Yes.
life if you were forced to do that? And there's like a retreat that you can go up on like the,
Vipassana.
yeah, right?
You do a Vipassana retreat and there you go.
Yeah. Or like there's this like thing where you can go sit in a dark room for 3 days.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right.
The
And I'm
darkness.
like,
Yeah.
ooh, I was like, I don't know if I could do that. Like, I don't know if I'm like there yet. But that, like, just imagine the shit that would come up and what you would be forced to not walk away from because you can't put on a podcast. You can't even put on music. You can't distract yourself from the realities that are really trying to scream at you and say, "Hey, wake up." Um, but yeah, it's pretty amazing these journeys that we go through, and I think and I hope that a lot more people are tapping into their womanhood and not looking at it as a cliche and, like really fairy-like and all that. Like you can still be a very strong, dominant woman and be in tune with your cycle and say no because I'm on my period. Like
Yeah.
I don't feel like doing that. Yeah, I hope so. I hope that it shifts quicker.
Hmm.
Let's go a little bit quicker, people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even though we're trying to slow down. What's your last piece of wisdom for everyone listening? What do you usually like to leave people with as a final thought?
The invitation that I put out there is, yeah, is to come home to yourself. So I always like strategies. I always like protocols, double Capricorn. So I'm like, yeah, give me something tangible. So I'm going to leave it with this. Uh, Set your alarm for whatever time. At one point today, set your alarm to go off and just like do something for you, whether that like it can be a mindfulness snack, like journal, like do the thing that you're like, oh, if I had time, I would do this. Journal or sit, like meditate, hum, tap, jumping jacks, but do something for yourself to come back home. And know that the more that you can lean into like trusting yourself, trusting your body, like, trust your body. It's giving you signals all the time. It's whispering to you. Sometimes it's shouting at you with symptoms, but like those things are your body calling out to like come back home, to like rein it in and recognize that your body's really wise and that you can trust yourself. You can trust your intuition, you can trust yourself, your physicality to guide you in making more mindful choices. It's just a matter of turning down the volume of the inner critic or turning down the volume of the chatter in the mind to, get still enough to like see what's actually your body is calling you.
Yeah, absolutely. Such great advice. Well, Rebecca, tell us where we can find you, because on the internet we can find people very easily, and all the links will be down in the show notes. But where are you at?
Yeah. So on Instagram, you can find me Women's Moon Wisdom. That's also the name of my podcast as well as my website. So you can check out that. I do have an offer if people want to, kind of two offers. I have a cyclical living journal that if people want to download that, that's a great way to just start tracking your mood, energy, and your cycle and kind of recognizing that. So it has some journal prompts. And then I also am going to offer your audience a free month. I have a cyclical living self-care app. It has meditations, movement practices, breathwork practices that you can use in alignment with your cycle. And I will offer your audience a 1 month if they want to check it out. And there'll be a little coupon code that I will share with you guys that you can, lean into that.
Oh, that sounds really awesome. And yeah, like I said, those will all be down in the show notes. It's been such a wonderful hour with you. Thank you so much for your presence, and I'm sure we'll connect soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you once again for tuning in and becoming the conscious mama you were born to be. Remember, I wasn't some magical unicorn who stumbled into fertility success. I stayed consistent, I put in the work, and I made it happen. And guess what? You can too. By discovering the right path for you in the 6 essential steps, including diet, rest and recovery, energetics, awareness, mindset, and surrender, you can create the family of your dreams. I know you've already downloaded the amazing free guide, but if you're ready to really truly step into real action, make sure you either grab the 6 steps to boost your embryos or look into Fertile Body for physical support, Fertile Mind for mindset and energetics. And if you want it all, that's where Dreams, the online course, comes in. Make sure for personal guidance, you can join a community session or book a one-to-one private call. And remember this, transformation happens when you stay committed to yourself. Trust your body, follow your intuition, make it possible. Oh, and if you're still here and you love this podcast, please take some time to leave us a review. It's like literally the only way other people can find this podcast. So help a sister out.